As we communicated last week, we convened an ad hoc expert group composed of experts from a range of medical specialities, including haematologists, neurologists, epidemiologists and virologists. Based on the current available evidence, specific risk factors such as age, gender or previous medical history of clotting disorders have not been able to be confirmed, as the rare events are seen in all ages and in men and women. A plausible explanation for these rare side events is an immune response to the vaccine, leading to a condition similar to one seen sometimes in patients treated with heparin. It's called heparin-induced thrombocytopenia. And Dr. Strauss will give us more details from the assessment. EMA is working very closely with the national competent authorities in all the EU member states and the company to make sure that these risks are proactively communicated to healthcare professionals. It's important that both vaccinated people and healthcare professionals are aware of the signs and symptoms of these unusual blood clotting disorders so that they can be spotted quickly to minimise any possible risks. We will continue to monitor the scientific evidence available on both effectiveness and safety of all the authorised COVID-19 vaccines, and we will issue further recommendations if necessary on the grounds of science and robust evidence. This case clearly demonstrates one of the challenges posed by large-scale vaccination campaigns. When millions of people receive these vaccines, very rare events can occur that were not identified during the clinical trials. The role of pharmacovigilance, the monitoring of these side effects, is to help us to rapidly detect and analyse these risks and their impact on the benefit-risk profile of the vaccine. This case also shows us that our pharmacovigilance system is working. These very rare and unusual events have been picked up, identified, analysed and have allowed us to come to science-based recommendations to allow the safe and effective use of this vaccine. EMA's scientific assessment will continue to work on all recommendations around this vaccine. Any national decision on the optimal use in vaccination campaigns will also take into account the pandemic situation in any individual country and other factors such as hospitalisation and availability of vaccines. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I'm now very pleased to hand over to the Chair of our Pharmacovigilance and Risk Assessment Committee, Dr. Sabina Strauss.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cook, and good afternoon. Over the past few weeks, the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee, PRAC, that I chair, has analysed reports of blood clots in people who received the COVID-19 vaccine, AstraZeneca. As Ms. Cook said, the PRAC has confirmed that overall, the benefits of the vaccine from AstraZeneca in preventing COVID-19 are well established and the risks are very rare. The PRAC has conducted a very thorough review of the reports of rare and unusual blood clotting events in combination with low blood platelets, with the help of an ad hoc expert group that looked at the data in great detail. The committee has carried out a detailed review of the 62 cases of cerebral venous sinus thrombosis and 24 cases of splanchnic vein thrombosis in the European Union Drug Safety Database, Vigilance, as of March 22, and 18 of these cases were fatal. The cases came mainly from reporting systems of the European Economic Area and the UK. I can provide you also with more recent figures. As of April 4, 2021, the EU Drug Safety Database had received a total of 169 cases of CVST and 53 of splanchnic vein thrombosis. And at that moment, 34 million people were vaccinated in the European Economic Area and the UK. The more recent data did not change any of the PRAC recommendations. After extensive discussions within the committee and taking into account the findings of the expert group, our conclusion is that these clotting disorders are very rare side effects of the vaccine. This conclusion is based on the detailed clinical, mechanistic and epidemiological assessments, including a distinct clinical pattern, immunological findings and observation of more reported cases than would be expected from the background rates of these unusual conditions. The currently available data did not allow us to identify a definite cause for these complications. However, plausible explanations have been put forward, including an immune response that leads to a condition that seems similar to an atypical heparin-induced thrombocytopenia hit. No specific risk factors could be identified based on the current data. The committee can therefore not recommend any specific measures to reduce the risk. Most of the cases occurred in individuals below 60 years of age and in women, but because of the different ways the vaccine is being used in the different countries, the committee did not conclude that age and gender were clear risk factors for these very rare side effects. Importantly, further research analysis of this important issue will take place. The manufacturer, AstraZeneca, will have to conduct studies, and research has been commissioned by EMA to further investigate these reactions. The committee will continue to assess all evidence that becomes available on this issue while the vaccination campaigns continue. It is of great importance that healthcare professionals and people coming for vaccination are aware of these risks and look out for possible signs or symptoms that usually occur in the first 2 weeks following vaccination. These include, for example, shortness of breath, chest pain, swelling in the leg, persistent abdominal pain, neurological symptoms including severe or persistent headache or blurred vision, and skin bruising beyond the site of injection. The product information will be updated to reflect these new findings and this will be added as an adverse drug reaction to the product information, and it will also include warnings. I would like to thank all the colleagues that have worked very, very hard around the clock to provide a comprehensive review of all the evidence that was available to the committee, and for the assessment, which was both rapid and robust. The collaboration between the colleagues from the national competent authorities and the European Medicines Agency, as well as with the scientific expert, was extremely productive. This review shows that in Europe there is a strong pharmacovigilance system that can promptly detect and analyse any adverse event, even the very rare ones, and take appropriate action. And I would like to take the opportunity here to stress again the importance of reporting of any suspected side effects. It is based on the reports from healthcare professionals and from people vaccinated that we have been able to detect, assess and act in this rapid, robust way. I'm pleased to leave the floor now to our moderator.
Many thanks, Dr. Strauss and Mrs. Cook. We are now opening the floor for questions. So if you want to ask a question, please click on the raise hand icon, which appears when you move your mouse over your name in the participant list in WebEx. And when I give you the floor, you please unmute yourself and turn on the camera. So the first question today comes from Gillian Deutsch from Politico. Gillian, please.
Hi, thank you very much for the time. I have 2 questions, if you allow me. My first question is, you said that there's no more at risk of these rare blood clotting events. But I have to say, I'm a young woman. I'm 27 years old. I'm seeing plenty of reports of young women with serious, sometimes fatal blood clots. And there are plenty more women like me in Europe. I'm wondering if you can explain to me why I and other young women like me should confidently receive the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine if it is offered to me.
Yeah.
The second question I want to ask is that Europe remains one of the most vaccine skeptic continents in the world. Will allowing a vaccine that does increase the risk of potentially fatal blood clots, even if very rare, if we allow that to remain on the market, will that have an increasingly negative effect on vaccine confidence in the continent? Thank you.
Thanks, Gillian. And probably we split this message, so perhaps Dr. Strauss can first respond to the advice to young women, and then we can go forward with Mrs. Cook about the vaccine hesitancy.
Thank you very much. It's an important question and also a very difficult one. What we have seen so far is that indeed the risk seems to be predominantly in younger age, 60 years and younger, but it also occurs in the elderly, and we have seen that it predominantly affects women. Some of that could be explained by the way that the vaccine is being used in the European Union and the European Economic Area. What we do know is that COVID-19 is a very serious disease, and we know that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine have been established. It prevents COVID disease, it prevents hospitalization, and it prevents mortality. So in that respect, PROC feels that the overall benefits outweigh the risks.
Mrs. Cook, can you perhaps go on?
Yes, I think it's very important that we use the vaccines that we have available to us. We need to beat this pandemic. We need to make sure that people have confidence in the vaccines. These are very rare side effects. The risk of mortality from COVID is much greater than the risk of mortality from these side effects. I think it's important that we give the message that vaccines will help us in the fight against COVID, and we need to continue to use these vaccines. Thank you.